came along, put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. 'Cause I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you see them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you.
Oh God, we just we sit here in awe of your majesty, God, in awe of your wonder, in awe of your power, and in awe of your love, God. We thank you for the love that you show us when we wander off, when we go our own way, when we think that we can do it better, when we think that that it's too hard to be a follower of you, when to live a life like Christ just seems like it's too much effort. But that love, that overwhelming love still remains. That love that we will never comprehend still remains. That love chases us into places that we wouldn't even dare ourselves to go. That love chases us down, it hunts us down, and it is still there for us whenever we seek it. It doesn't go anywhere. And God, we thank you for that. We thank you for that love that we don't deserve. I'll never understand why you sit down and you're like, Matt, I love you today. I'll never understand that, God. But I thank you for it, God. I praise you for it, God. I thank you that you keep chasing me, that your love follows me wherever I go. I praise you that before I spoke a word, you were singing over me, God.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. But I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so
For those that know me, know that I love real estate and property. I'm not sure why, but every couple of days I read an article or two and check the local real estate in the area. And when I was 20, I renovated my first place in Mayfield. It was a terrible investment, but my dad says, at least you got in the market. Anyway, over the years, Lauren and I have renovated about 6 homes, and I've got to meet all sorts of different tradies, sometimes good and sometimes not so good. Anyway, the last bathroom we renovated, we used the same tilers that we've used before, and I got to know them a little. And Lauren and I would try and be hospitable, just friendly basically, offer them a drink, something to eat, and just be thoughtful. Anyway, this day the tilers were doing a job, and Lauren and the kids must have been out, and they came back and they saw that one of the guys' wives was in the car on her laptop. Anyway, so we found out that she'd resigned from a previous job and she just didn't really want to be at home by herself, so she decided to go to work with her husband. Anyway, Lauren insisted that she come into the house and make herself comfortable. I went to work and left Lauren, she's a great project manager, with the tradies and our kids and one of the tradies' wives. And Lauren and her got talking and she asked what I did for a living. What does your husband do for a living? And she says, oh, my husband's a pastor. I'm a pastor. And I usually don't tell people what I do when I first meet them because they have all sorts of preconceived ideas and not all of them are positive. Anyway, the next day, the guys were back at our house and sure enough, the guy's wife was there and she came into the house, made herself at home, and Lauren and her got talking again. And the lady said to Lauren, she says, I told the boys what Mark does for a job, and that he's a pastor. And they said they won't believe me that he's a pastor. And Lauren was thinking something bad, and she says, oh, why don't they believe that he's a pastor? And they said, oh, he's too cool to be a pastor. And that's a quote, just let me say. Now that is the first time and last time that I have been called cool. Now I'm just the daggy dad. But what it reminded me yet again of people's views and misunderstanding about Christianity and faith. I'm not sure if it's from bad experiences or over religious views, but I see a great need for Christians and the church to give a better understanding of what Christianity is and isn't. So how do we do that? How do we, the church, share the good news of Jesus to the world, to our communities and friends, and give them the right picture? We don't need people to know what we don't stand for. We really just need people to know what we do stand for. And I was reading Matthew 5, verses 14, 16. And it says something that sort of puts a bit of pressure on, but it says, you are the light of the world. I'm the light of the world. It goes on to say in verse 16, in the same way, let your light shine, your life shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. I mean, like, what a challenge. People can understand Jesus and Christianity through our lives when we live like Jesus. And when we don't live like Jesus, it's not really a great representation. But our actions are vital to help people understand what Christianity is and isn't about. We will make mistakes, but the challenge is to live a life that makes people thirsty for the things of God, that draws people to want to know Jesus more, and because of our life. And in Matthew 10, 7 to 8, it talks about being sent out to bring healing and hope and love. That's what we do. We're sent out to bring healing, hope and love. And it says, as you go, preach the message, the kingdom of heaven is near. It's about urgency. Preach it, the kingdom of heaven is near. Life is short, make the most of it. And then it goes on in verse 8 and it says, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons, freely you have given and freely give. And I want to break that down. The first part says, heal the sick. We're called to heal the sick. In the translation of that, the word sick is translated to meaning weak. What it's saying is, it's asking us is actually to support the weak, those that might need a bit more support and help and encouragement. That's what we are called to do. And by that, people will know that we are Jesus' people. And then it goes on to say, raise the dead. And I believe that God can raise the dead. But I think in this particular passage, it's talking about people can be spiritually dead. And we need to help people become spiritually alive and curious about Jesus. Because when they follow Jesus, they will become spiritually alive. And it goes on and says, cleanse those who have leprosy. You think, how does that apply today? But people with leprosy were isolated. People with leprosy were isolated. They were sent away from anyone, no physical touch. And only Jesus could make them clean. Do you know anyone in this world that's isolated? Know anyone in this world that might need a friend, someone to embrace? And here, people will know that we are Jesus' people if we go to those and befriend the friendless. And then it goes on and says, drive out demons. Well, this is an interesting one. And I'm sure you've heard this line before, maybe in a movie. But it says, for evil to exist is for good people to nothing. For evil to exist is for Jesus' people to do nothing. Remember, we are called to be the light of the world. We are called to go to dark places and bring some light, love, joy, freedom into places of the world. It goes on and says, freely you have received and freely give. Well, this was talking about a rabbi. See, a rabbi was a teacher, and they were bound by law to give their teaching for free and for absolutely nothing, because it was the good news of Jesus. And there was only one condition where a rabbi was allowed to receive money for his teaching, and that was if he was giving a child extra tuition, because it was a parent's responsibility to teach their child the laws of Moses. But basically what it's saying is, we need to be willing to teach and support and journey with people without reward, for absolutely free. So what can we do? How can we help people better understand the good news of Jesus and the hope we can have in Him? Well, Mike Frost gives it real simple points in his book, Bells. And it's like, keep it simple, stupid. And he simply says, try and do this. Bless 3 people every week. Intentionally be kind, give a gift, pay for someone's meal, or be thankful, appreciative to someone at McDonald's when you've waited in the line for your food. Whatever it is, make people feel good with your words. The other thing is eating. Just be intentional time, journeying and listening with people over a coffee, lunch and dinner. The other thing is make sure that you're learning about Jesus, not only you and other people. Share some stories. And the fourth thing is make sure we're listening and obedient to the Holy Spirit and using our gifts, because if we listen to His voice, if we listen to the still small voice, He'll guide us and tell us what we need to do. So who are the people that God has sent you to journey with to help them better understand Christianity, but to better understand Jesus? Who's your one? It could be at work, school. It could be a mum or a dad. But who's in your life that God is sending you, because we are sent people, is sending you to get people to understand what true Christianity is about, and that they can be introduced to Jesus just from the life and example that you live. This week, as you go about your day-to-day life, remember that you are the light of the world, and God has sent you to help people better understand who Jesus is from your life and example. Remember, you can't be perfect. Don't have that unrealistic expectation on yourself. You can't be perfect. I can't be perfect. You can't be perfect. But you can be Christ-like. You can reflect the likeness of Jesus. And may we each live in such a way that brings people closer to Him. Bless you each.